My name's Giacomo Mancini and I'm an actor. So, very interesting. I remember Jan Demange, the director of Top Boy, has been quite close family friend throughout my life. And he started recording me when I was about 8, but because I just had funny stories, he was interested in the way I talk and he was interested in my stories. But that was when I was 8, so thought nothing of it. This is when I think Jan was in film school. And then one day out of the blue, he said, listen, I'm doing this, this TV series. I'd love you to just audition for, I think it was like one scene. It was like the scene with Letitia on the staircase, and it's about kind of Bocat and a girl type of thing. And I was like, I can't do this. Like, he sent me all the scripts, the 4 episodes, looked at it, and I was sort of like, what is this, Anyway, I was like, I'm not interested in it. This is when I was just doing my exams, And then my mom was like, you're going to do it. You know what I mean? And I was like, Mom, like, I don't want to do it. I was in my school uniform, like my tie, proper big. And I remember it sitting in the car before going to see Des, Jan, and the other casting people, and looking at the scripts, and I hadn't read any of it. So I didn't even know any of the lines, literally nothing. And Jan was like, listen, I told you to remember the lines. And I was like, I didn't like the script anyway. Let me tell you how we talk on the streets. So I kind of just started going at it with Laura, one of Des's assistants, about, just literally like improvisation, just going at it. Keeping the structure of the scene, but very much like taking it to different levels. And that happened, and then I remember going back home, thought nothing of it, got a call back from Des saying, we want you to come in for, Gem. At the time, honestly, I was just thinking more money, bigger role. So yeah, that's how I started. So what was it like, the process of securing a role? So it was quite, I was just naive, I'm a young guy, finishing school, not knowing what this is all about type of thing. So got called back from Des, went in, and I started. It was a long process. If I remember, it was probably about 6, 7 auditions that I'd done, because obviously going for Gem. So they wanted me to also chemistry read with different people. At the time, I think it was more the people going for Arnell as well, so I'd chemistry read. But at the time, I'm just thinking, I remember it was one time that I was in the hallway, and there was a lot of pushy mums, kids that went to acting, like who forced their kids to go to acting school type of thing. And they was going, this is going to be such a big series. And I think that was the 3rd audition when it kind of kicked in my head, and I was like, this is going to be big. And then I started wanting it more, and getting shown more things, And before I got offered the role, I was kind of going deeper and finding out more, like I was trying on costumes. And then there was a very nice process we'd done where we was picking a dog, the one that plays Marnie. So and then I was kind of realizing this is kind of mine, or nearly about, and going to the big offices in Caledonian Road and seeing all the set designs, like being proper involved in it. So that was but it was a long process, but I think the whole way I just kept it natural, and I was just, trying to portray the character as best as I could, without thinking too much, I think. The first day on set, it was crazy because I had a lot of love from everyone. I mean, especially Ashley. Ashley has always shown me love. He's been like a big brother for me throughout the whole process. And the first time on set it wasn't a night shoot, but we were shooting quite late. So I'd been kind of sitting around in the trailers all day, and they weren't going to do my scene, if I remember right, because they was going over. And the first scene was when I was in the trap house, and I meet Ashley for the first time, and he kind of talks me into what we're doing, and it was just bang. It was just bang from there, and I started registering in my head, and I was like, all right, cool, we're on set now. And it was such a lovely feel, because it was like all of my brothers, because there was Sean, who's a good brother of mine. There was Sean Sager as well, so it was just a family vibe, and I feel like the whole time we was rehearsing together, we was eating Caribbean food, like in Caledonian Road, just chilling with each other in a church, it was still an open church, but we were just in a kind of back room of the church, and we were just clicking. It was literally, like I said earlier, it was like a youth club vibe, something that I've been used to all my life, So what I learned throughout the kind of the transition between series 1 and series 2 was, I feel like in series 1 I went in with a clean slate. Like I didn't know how it worked. I didn't know what acting was. I didn't really know, but like I said, you know, I'd known kind of the character. You know, I've been around that all my life, so I knew what it was kind of like. You know, for me, I was quite fortunate because I had a good family type of thing, but I knew what it was like to want to be a top boy. Like, I always used to see olders in my ends, like even just little things like, you know, I'd always want to play football with them. Like, I'd always be sitting on the sidelines, you know, waiting for them to say, oh, do you want to play? And I was good at ball, so, you know, the olders would be like, come and play. And I remember one time, my uncle got me these new Huaraches. I remember it so clearly. Like, and I always used to batter my crepes, always. And he got me these new Huaraches, said, don't play football. But then the older was like, come play football. So I remember strapping up the Huaraches and kicking ball with them and mashing them up. So the transition was difficult. It was difficult, but because I knew the character so well and we spent so much time preparing it, because I think it was a 2-year break, or maybe just 1 year between series 1 and series 2, and obviously I'd done more acting jobs between that. So after Top Boy, I went and done a BBC One drama, like a period drama called Ripper Street, which was like a complete opposite experience. And then I'd done another short film, and I was not an actor, and then, you know, going into series 2, being an actor, and I was very scared not to lose the naturalism in my performance, you know. And before going into it, I was very optimistic, shall I say, in how I'm going to portray it, because I'd been on set now, so it wasn't as natural as it was for me before. I knew what the camera was, I was aware of the cameras, but as soon as I went into series 2, you know, it was just bang. Once you're around people, I knew the character, and it was, so I learned a lot as an actor, and I wanted to keep the performance as fresh as I could. So yeah, it was a very, very good learning process between 1 and 2. Well, what's in store for season 3? I think it's going to be a lot bigger, a lot, you know, I wouldn't say better as such because it's not come out yet, but what I do know about series 3 is there's unbelievable actors, the storyline is unbelievable, and there's a lot of surprises for people, you know, hardcore Top Boy fans, you know, ones that have been there since we first came on Channel 4, and I just think it's got the potential to be absolutely huge, you know. And I remember being at the table reading, you know, Drake saying he wants to make this one of the best series ever, you know. So I think it's no doubt. I mean, the actors that were involved are unbelievable, and everyone is going to love it, I'm sure. What was it like doing series 3? I mean, it was a completely different vibe. It was a completely different vibe. I mean, I think it's been 5 years from the second series to the third series. And it was much bigger. You felt that it was much bigger. There was a lot more people involved, and it, you know, it's an unbelievable experience because this has been with me throughout my whole childhood, adulthood. You know, this has come with me, and I think for me the best feeling is what the fans are going to benefit from it, because all I get ever is there going to be a series 3? Is there going to be a series 3? And it, you know, it's sad for the fans, because I understand as an actor, because there's so much things for us to explore. And if we was going to just leave it, it's a shame, because to get your hands on a good series is difficult as an actor. And when there's no real reason, as obviously there is a reason, but no real reason is in terms of it wasn't good. That wasn't the reason. It was good, but obviously things behind the scenes, I don't know exactly what, but that all comes into play, and it's kind of, it's almost like you've kind of been robbed off for the fans as well, you know. What was it like going into Ripper Street after Top Boy? It was mad for me. It was mad for me because I remember before Top Boy came out, my mum was always like, you got to work or you got to go to college. You're not sitting around doing nothing. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go to college. So I went to a performing arts college for like 2 months. And I was going to college when Top Boy came out. So it was mental for me. Like, people were trying to take pictures of me. They were mad. They was crazed out by the idea I'm at performing arts college. And then 2 months later, I booked a job on Ripper Street. And it was a whole different experience because on Top Boy, I had my mum around a lot. She was my chaperone. She was always there with me. And I had to go to Ireland to film it. And I had to be on my own because my mum had to work. So I was kind of like thrown into this environment where there's a lot older actors. I was the only young actor at the time on the job, so I was with a lot of big actors, you know, Joe Gilgan from This Is England I filmed with, and he kind of took me under his wing. But I was in Ireland all on my own for about 2 months filming, and it was difficult for me because I'm in a different country, I'm staying in a hotel, I've got to fend for myself, there's no one sort of to look after me, and it was just me, and not, it wasn't like I had young people around so I could say, oh, let's go out. But luckily for me, I had Joe Gilgan, who was unbelievable. We used to chill together all the time, and so I was thankful for him. But it's difficult because being 16, I was 16 at the time, to be in Ireland on your own and be away from your parents. I remember my mum saying to me, you know, I can't stay here with you, and I was like, well, I don't want to be here, and I don't know how to look after myself, basically. So that taught me a lot going forward, and I had to grow up quite quickly after then. So, I mean, this is a long time ago, you know, so I don't know if it's changed now, but I was allowed to be in Ireland on my own because I was over 16. So there was no chaperones. I was literally all on my own, practically being able to do whatever I wanted. You know, if I wanted to go back to the hotel and go out, I could. So I didn't have anyone there, I didn't have no one. Luckily I had Joe because he was like a big brother for me, but he didn't have to do that. He didn't have to, you know, I remember we used to chill together, we used to have beers together, you know, like at 16, you know, Guinnesses after we was filming. And it was interesting because, but I'm thankful for that experience because I had to grow up and I had to, you know, it's like you have per diems where you get your lunch, but after filming, all I could do was order room service. So I used to order room service all the time. So I'm not too sure if the rules have changed now, but back then I was allowed to be on my own. And it's, you know, being in Ireland, I even had to get flights on my own. I was always getting flights on my own. So, but it's a massive experience, you know, I'm so thankful for it because a lot of people aren't open to that when they're 16. I had to get, obviously my mum printed out the boarding passes and stuff for me. But apart from that, on my plane on my own, got there, picked up by a driver to the hotel, and that was it really. So after Ripper Street, I went on and I'd done a short film called Orthodox with David Leon and Stephen Graham. And that was another unbelievable experience for me because obviously learning from my process in Ireland, going into Orthodox, that was a way again. I was in Newcastle and my opinion, Stephen Graham is probably the finest actor we have in this country. And he, another person that didn't have to, took me under his wing. And I also worked with another actor called Michael Smiley, who I'd worked with on Ripper Street. So I had a vibe with him, we was cool. And that, in the future, that got turned into a feature film. Because it's good because I think producers want to see something before they want to invest. So we kind of put out, won awards at Rain Dance, I think, for best short. And then the following year, after Top Boy, we shot that. But then after that, I think it was, I'm not too sure if the date's right, but then I done theatre at the National, at the Shed, which was an amazing experience for me, you know, because completely different to what I've been used to. And I always wanted to go into theatre, you know, and it was amazing. It was only I think it was 3 weeks. We performed in Parliament as well, which was another great experience. And it was just amazing, you know, because to be on the floor, and the Shed's quite intimate, you know, it's quite small. So to be around that was just unbelievable. So, and then after that, I done, if I'm right about the dates, and then I done Top Boy 2, and then I done Orthodox, the feature, and then I think it was later that year I done a Warner Brothers film called Pan, where I was working closely with Hugh Jackman for 3 months, which was an unbelievable experience. We was filming in Watford, the Warner Brothers studios, and then Cardington, which is in Bedford. So that was another experience where I was up in Cardington on my own for about 3 months. And we kind of played, it's not a big role, but we played Joe Wright, the director, who's an amazing director. He wanted us to build our characters ourselves. So we went to pirate school. I played a pirate, so we went to pirate school. I had to spend three hours every morning in makeup. I was also working with Nonzo, who's unbelievable, Rooney Mara, Garrett Hedlund. So it was amazing where I've gone from doing things on location to being in big budget movies, you know, where you're in a studio and the whole studio has been transformed into Neverland, you know. So it's like, it's crazy the kind of diverse jobs that I've been fortunate to go into, because to do that was just unbelievable. And to work with an actor as big as Hugh Jackman, who, I mean, all of my scenes were with him, you know, every single one was with him. And he took us under his wing, and it was just amazing. I remember me and Garrett, who, he's another amazing actor. Sorry, I keep saying amazing actor, but they are. And Garrett Hedlund, I remember, he's an American actor, and I remember seeing him in Four Brothers. He plays the younger brother in Four Brothers, and he was obsessed with FIFA. So we used to, in between takes, we used to go to the makeup truck, play FIFA, and obviously I used to batter him all the time because he's not used to playing FIFA, you know. So that was an unbelievable experience, because that was when I proper transformed. I had to transform myself into a different thing. Like I had to, you know, it was an Italian accent. I had to learn how to sword fight. It was like proper. It was like we trained for about 3-4 weeks every day there, kind of pirate school. You know, as an actor, when you're used to doing kind of real things, to go into a fantasy world, and you've got to transform yourself into pirates, learn about knots on the ship, and then so we was on rigs on an actual boat in Cardington, which was an amazing experience. And that was about 3 months as well, which was unbelievable. So yeah, I mean, it's been an experience so far. So Pan was through a casting director, Gina J, who'd seen me in Top Boy, and she's lovely, and she's loved me from Top Boy. And so I'd seen her quite a few times for different roles, and because she's she is one of the best in our country. She casts just massive films, and I remember her bringing me in for, I think it's a Johnny Depp film, Grand Budapest Hotel. So she got me in for that, and that was an experience, because you're not allowed to get the lines before. So they give you the lines in the waiting room, and they give you 10, 15 minutes, and you've got to go into the room and kind of deliver it. But Gina loves the naturalness, and I think that's why she kind of liked me, and she got me in for that. I sent a tape, and then I went in, and then quite quickly it all materialised from there, got the role. And yeah, it was a dream come true, man. Dream come true. Joe wanted the pirates on the set to be able to kind of gel and play their bit if they wanted to, you know, like not be scared to walk. And he really wanted us to have a body of work that we was confident. So I remember meeting Joe. So I had 2 callbacks, and then I went to Warner Brothers studio to meet the director. And we was kind of doing some kind of fake lines together, and Joe was just like, you know, I'm going to offer you the part here. So I got offered it, and then he was like, so what do you want your character to be called? I want you to proper make a character. So, you know, he was like, what do you want your character to be called? And I wanted him to be called Michelangelo, because I like Ninja Turtles. He's my favorite Ninja Turtle. And he thought I meant the artist Michelangelo. He was like, cool. And then he was like, I want you to work with a dialect coach to come up with your accent, and then I want you to go to pirate school. And then from there, I think it was the next day, I was in pirate boot camp. And there was a lot of us involved where we were just working together, gelling, and we had to learn every name of the ship, you know, where we stood on the ship, and he wanted us to come up with how our hair's gonna look. And we worked with a really amazing makeup artist called Ivana, and she wanted us to just be crazy. So I had to have a wig, I had to have a moustache, I had to have the craziest outfit. Obviously my color was gonna be yellow. So yeah, it was a dream come true, really, to go into Warner Brothers for an audition and then just get offered the role there. Was just, I couldn't believe it. I remember getting the train back home and trying to call my mum, but I didn't have no battery on my phone. So I'm holding my breath on this train, just going mad. Like, I've just been offered a role in a Warner Brothers film, and I'm just going nuts, crazily nuts. Not being able to speak to someone. Imagine how annoying that is. But no, it was another kind of box ticked off my list, because I just want to be working with the best people, and I knew in Joe Wright I was working with one of the best directors England have produced, and Hugh Jackman, who's an idol to anyone, you know. My opinion, what does a good director do for actors? I feel like a good director nurtures you and gives you the best platform to succeed, whether that's the work you do before you go into the job or whether it's on set. I mean, what for me, obviously, not just saying it, but Jan Demange, I don't think I could have worked with a better director for my first job, because he set the standard for me in terms of directors, because he was always, directors work different ways. Some directors are very hands-on, and they come up to you and tell you, I want you to do it this, and then some directors don't give you as much, so you leave work not feeling if you've done very well, sort of thing. But it obviously means you're doing it well if they're not telling you things, but you don't. For me personally, I don't feel satisfied unless the director's proper. And I remember Jan really digging into me, and he was like, sometimes if I wasn't concentrating, he was like, come on, do you know what I mean? And then obviously in Top Boy, I had probably the hardest scene to ever do when my dog died, because I had to cry. And I remember Jan was always honest to me, I messed up so many times in that scene. But he was very hands-on. He was like, try it this way. And he would always give you sort of thoughts for you to think about as a character, think about this or think about this, and he put you in the actual situation, where some directors are very kind of just leave you alone, which is fine, but I like a director who's hands-on, and I like a director who's honest, if it's shit, tell me it's shit, do you know what I mean? And I will, kind of work with it to change it around. And it's tough because you have a lot of responsibility as an actor. You're employed to deliver good performances, and there's a lot of people trusting you to get a role. This has got to be everyone's opinion for you to get offered a role. But Top Boy as well that was Jan's decision. Jan wanted us to have a acting coach, Martin, who I still see now, he wanted us to really develop that. So me and Malcolm, for example, and this was all Jan's thoughts, he wanted us to spend time with each other. So he wanted us to stay at each other's house. He wanted us to talk about some of our secrets that we wouldn't talk about with anyone. So we actually trusted each other, and we was actually best friends. So try and make a best friend relationship in the space of 2 months, I think it was. It could have been even shorter. But it was very, very intense, our training, where we was spending a lot of time for acting coaches. We was discussing our family problems, brothers, and we gelled straight away, and that was Jan. So he put a lot of work in us before we even got to set. So while we was on set, I felt like without us knowing too much, we was equipped for what we had to do, And Jan was like, if you don't, you have lines as actors, but Jan was like, listen, if you don't think you say that, say something else. But I feel that comes out when you know your character very well, because you're able to talk as your character. So keep the structure with the scene, but if you don't think you would say bruv at the end of that line, then don't use it. Do you know what I mean? Because you've got to keep it fresh after all the takes. So for me, a director, I like directors being hands-on, and kind of demanding more from me. I love that. So I've been quiet because it's a lot of things. Not saying I've not been out there that much, but I would say that a lot is down to me. Also for me, I feel one of the things is because I started very young, and I started when I was a child actor. So I feel like I always knew this stage was going to be quite difficult. Like the beginning of last year, I tried to go to drama school because I wanted to kind of refine my skills, and I thought I wanted to give myself a time to get better as an actor, have more things on my background, so casting directors can trust me more, but also for me, because I wanted to sharpen my tools. I always compared it to like a builder. If you don't have all the tools around you, you're not going to be able to do certain jobs or build a certain cupboard if you don't have certain tools. So I went through that process. I got through to the last stages and didn't get in. So that I was prepared to take 3 years out of my career to do it, because I looked at it because I have experience, I'm known, I've got agents, but this is just my time to kind of develop and get bigger and kind of go for the man roles, because transitioning from when you're a young actor, it's difficult because you're growing all the time. So a lot of times I would see casting directors when they'll be like, oh, I thought you was much younger, I'm sure everyone would agree I've completely changed. Some people are like, I can't even believe you're Jem, So it was that period, and I always knew, and me and my agents did as well, we knew it was going to be difficult from when I hit when I'd grown a beard and I could kind of have hair on my face type of thing. So I always knew it was going to be difficult. So the last job I'd done, obviously, before Top Boy was a PlayStation commercial for the American market and Hong Kong market, which was a crazy experience where I played a king. I had to do loads of sword fighting again, riding horses, which was an amazing experience. And that was for an American advertising agency. So that was a nice exposure in America, but I feel like where I am now, I've tried a lot of things, and I feel like now I'm kind of getting back into myself where I can kind of attack the roles of the young adult now, you know, because when you hit 21 and you're going through all them stages, it's difficult, it's hard, because, you know, I find myself a lot, you know, there's loads of actors that are kind of in my casting bracket now. And it's kind of my way of how I'm going to slip away. Not cause I'll still compete with them, but it's like now I feel like I'm an adult, you know. So when I was going for roles, it's like you're in between, and I was getting far. Like I've been getting far in auditions, but you know, it's sort of like I personally haven't been that active myself due to, you know, situations in life and where life takes you. But you know, I love acting, and I love it to bits, but I've got other interests in my life as well. And you know, from now I plan to be very much more active, you know, definitely. Obviously with the release of Top Boy, but also in myself, where I feel like I can be personally, I can be more active, you know, for me, you know. So yeah, it's difficult. It's always difficult. I feel like how I've dealt with quiet periods is having interest in other things, you know, growing from 15, for example. I'd film a job for about 2-3 months and then have a quiet period for 3 months. That's just natural how it goes as an actor, I think, unless you're at a big level, you know, high level. But I feel that's just natural, and I feel like when I was younger, I used to keep myself occupied by trying to read books, read acting books, find interest in, obviously now I'm very interested in the gym. I go to the gym a lot. I'm interested in personal training. So I feel like it's about finding different avenues that make you happy. Not that it's a plan B, but just have other interests and focus yourself in other directions, really. Because it's a hard grind, acting. It's hard, you know. There's times when you film a job, you have money. There's times when you don't film a job and you don't have money. It's just the way it goes, you know. And you've got to, I feel like it's all right to get by when you're living at your family's home, but if you've moved out since you was young like I did, it's very, very real. And I feel like the difficulties of being part of a big TV series is it's much harder for you to go into normal work if you wanted to, because because people know you, and if you go into an office job, for example, I guess that if you went into an office job, someone's going to know you there from Top Boy, and someone's going to say to you, going to tell your boss, and then your boss is going to think you're an actor, and then he's not going to want to, you know, want you to be around, and you've got to dip out for auditions. You can't give that commitment to someone, you know. So that's difficult. That's a difficult part, because you're, you know, I wouldn't change it for the world, but you know, when you're being part of such a successful program, it's difficult to kind of dive into other things. It's difficult. So it's a tough job, and I think anyone will say it to you. You know, actors throughout the years, the biggest actors, and it's nice to find comparisons. You know, Michael Caine, he worked in a call center for 3-4 years. Some actors don't make it until their 40s, but I feel like the actors that go far are the ones that never give up, and they keep it in their mind, and they're like, I'm going to get through this. If I have to work, for example, wherever, office job, you know, bartender, whatever, but keeping your mind that acting's the main goal, then I feel you're good. But it's hard, because also, you know, you go for jobs that are potentially life-changing, you know, money-wise and, you know, career-wise. That's why I feel like it's important to have other avenues in your life. And I'm lucky because I've got to 24 and I've realised that, you know. But when I was growing up, I couldn't believe it. Like, I was like, how else am I gonna, you know, create a life, you know, when I've got not people expectations, but you know, you go out and people will be like, oh my God, you know, it's such a fairy tale world that people think you're in. They go, oh, you know, like, so what, how much did you get paid for that? Like 150 grand, like, do you know what I mean? For like, and I'm going to them like, what do you think? Because they look at you like that. They look at you like you're this successful actor that has it all at his feet, and it's the complete opposite. So I feel like you've just got to believe in yourself, and I feel whatever walks of life anyone does, you just got to believe in yourself, and you've just got to, keep it going, because I feel in life it's all about consistency. Like, my mum always says to me, how do you measure success? And that's a question that I've always tried to kind of find out the answer, but I don't know. But I guess it is, being successful for a amount of years. Have I been successful in acting? Yes. I've made successful programs. I've completed goals that I've always wanted to complete. I've walked the red carpet. I've worked with my idols. I've done a big TV series. So have I been successful? Yes. But it's all about maintaining it. If you look at football players, you have Messi, who's been doing it for 10 years. Tennis, you have Federer, who's been doing it for 10 years, longer than that. So it's all about consistency, and that's what I feel like what every actor wants is consistency, and wants to work all the time, because this is our passion. I want to work all the time. I want to work 12 months of a year. I want to be doing the jobs that I want to be doing. I want to get stuck into difficult characters. I want to really relate to them. So it's the way that game goes, and I feel like once you get rid of, and I feel it's all walks of life. Once you get rid of life's hard, or, auditioning's hard, or I'm not getting anywhere, then life will be easy. It's easier when you stop hating, going, I'm not getting anything, I'm not getting any jobs, And once you get rid of that out of your head, I think it's easy. And it's took me, I'm thankful for being 24 now and starting so young, because I've learnt this. And people that come in older, they don't know what's happening. So I just think it's all about finding the consistency in life and believing in yourself, whatever you do.